Satu, dua, tiga. Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast, Star Reflection. So we are from International One Group 5. So my name is Alika Regin and I'm here with Darin, Abel, Vio, Gali, and Hasna. So before we start, first of all, I want to say sorry because um, it will get a bit noisy because I'm outside right now. But back to the topic. Today we're not just going to talk about ethics in a textbook way, but how our own personal values based on the SCORE questionnaire. Actually, this create like a synergies and even some healthy conflicts in our group.
Yeah, very interesting. We found out that we are very high achiever, but that we have some very different how to get there in life.
Uh, I don't know, is it my connection or what, but I can't hear Abel very clearly. But I think let's just start with the first question, which is what are our main challenges? Looking at our group data, most of us, especially Alika, Abel, and Gali, have a very high score in achievement from our previous assignment, I think. And Alika, how does this drive for success become a challenge for you in ethics?
Okay, thanks, Darren, for your question. So, since I score high in achievement and universalism, my challenge is a double-edged sword, and I want the group to succeed and I get an A. But my universalism make me worry deeply about like the social impact, and sometimes I feel like I'm carrying the emotional weight of making sure our project is ethical, and while other might just want to get their work done.
I can relate to the achievement part, but I have a different challenge. I score very low in tradition, so while I want us to succeed, I often want to skip the standard procedures or the boring rubrics if I think there's a faster way. So my challenge is staying by the book when my instinct is to just do it that way.
So yeah, I'm with Gali on the low tradition score, but I score high on security. So my challenge is a bit of a paradox. I want to try new risky ways of doing things, which is low tradition, but I also get anxious if the grade isn't safe, which is the high security part. So it makes me very hesitant in my decision making.
That's funny because I have it's for it's challenge for achievement. All my books group toward a very ambitious and very risky strategy. Then I realized I need to listen more to you and Alika, so the price helper is just because I wanted a massive favor.
And I think for me, my profile is quite moderate. I think it was around 3.0. My challenge is that in a group of high achievers like you guys, I sometimes feel like the calm one. You guys might see my relaxed approach as a lack of effort, but actually, I'm just trying to keep the balance so we don't get burned out.
I think I see myself as the anchor here with five cells direction. My challenge is mapping out the plan while balancing your high intensity energy with Hasna's more easygoing pace. Uh, since we have this potential classes like the risk versus safety gate, what are our strategies for making ethical, holistic decisions together?
Oh, I guess my choice for you is being a professional. Since I know that I have a lot of instinct, so I will specifically feel Alka was this plans to skip for our growth. I use your crossing as my second.
Yeah, and my strategy is to use Darin and Alika as rubric anchors since you guys value tradition and conformity more. So I trust you to check if my creative ideas actually follow the assignment rules. It keeps us ethical and by the book.
To bridge the big picture disconnect, I have decided to let Alika lead the ethical audit of our work since I score low in universalism. I might miss the social impact, and my strategy is to defer to her expertise in that area to ensure our decisions are truly holistic.
And I think my strategy is the vibe check. In a group of high achievers, stress levels can get high. So I'll try to ensure we are communicating well so that intensity doesn't turn into resentment. It's about the ethics of how we treat each other as a team.
So yeah, I think that is very important that we have to treat each other as a team ethically. And my strategy is the inclusivity check. I want to make sure everyone's voice is heard, even if they aren't the loudest in the room. And that is how we make a truly holistic decision.
Okay, I think now let's apply this to the guest lecture in previous uh, class. We talk about discrimination like against pregnant employees or those wearing Muslim attire. How does our group profile say this?
Okay, I think because I value universalism, I see this as a huge ethical failure. But looking at our group, if we only focus on achievement like Abel or Dali's I score, a company might wrongly justify discrimination as a way to hit a target. We have to be careful to not to let our drive for success blind us to human rights.
I agree. I agree. Even though I score low in tradition, I realize that some tradition, like respect for religious attire, are actually about basic human dignity. Critical thinking tells me that a company that discriminates is actually low achievement in the long run because they are losing diversity.
Exactly. The lecture showed that the subtle discrimination is very real as a group with different intensities. We have to make sure that we don't discriminate against different working styles within our own team.
Before we close, I think it would be interesting if we talk more honestly about our actual group dynamics. Because when we talk about ethics, it's easy to discuss discrimination or fairness in companies, but sometimes the first place where ethics really appears is in small, everyday team situations like deadlines, division of work, communication style, and even who gets listened to the most.
Mm, I think that's true. I think ethics in a team doesn't always look formally dramatic, but Sometimes it varies, nothing like whether we assume one person is less serious just because they work in a different style, or whether we unconsciously expect the same people to always carry the hardest part.
Exactly. I think one of the biggest ethical tension in a group work is simple unfairness, not just necessarily because someone is a bad person, but because we all naturally lean into our own values. For example, if someone is very achievement oriented, they might think like, I just want the best result, so I will do it myself. But ethically, that can create imbalance because it excludes others from contributing.
Yes, and on the other side, if someone is more chill or calm like me, people might think like, oh, she probably doesn't care as much, but that's also not necessarily true. Sometimes people contribute differently. Some people contribute by stabilizing the group, reducing tension, or helping the group not become too emotionally intense.
Yeah, I think that is important because in my student group, we tend to define contribution only as who talks the most, right? Or who write the most. But actually, there are other form of contribution, like organizing ideas, spotting problems, or even helping the group to stay sane.
And also emotionally, I think there's an ethical responsibility. So if one person is clearly overwhelmed or stressed, the group should notice that, because if we only focus on outputs and deadlines, then we're basically repeating the same unhealthy work culture that we criticize in companies.
I think that's such a good point. It means ethics isn't only about making the correct decisions. It's also about the progress and the process of how we work together while making that decisions.
Mm. Honestly, I feel like this is where our storage profile become really real because my instinct is often to think, okay, what's the fastest answer with me? Yeah, if I don't slow down, but then unintentionally silence people you need no time to process it.
Um, and that's why self-awareness matters. I think our values are not excuse, and they are mirrors. Knowing that you are in a high in achievement or low in security doesn't mean that that is just who I am and deal with it. It means like, okay, now I know my blind spot, and so I have to manage them responsibly.
I like that a lot because sometimes personality tests or value tests get used like labels, but ideally, they should help us become more considerate, not more rigid.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, I can see how my low tradition score could sometimes make me dismiss structure too quickly. I might think that why are we all doing this? Let's just skip to the result. But I have learned that structure can also be respectful. It can help make sure everyone to understand the whole process.
And for me, my high security score means I sometimes hesitate too much. I can get stuck in overthinking because I'm trying to avoid mistakes. But in a group, if I don't communicate that, people might just think that I'm indecisive.
So what I'm hearing is that a lot of our ethical challenges in teamwork are really about interpretation. We often misread each other's behavior without understanding the values behind it.
Exactly. If one person is too intense, might actually be the responsibility, and one person's too relaxed might actually be emotional stability, and one person's too cautious might actually be care. So ethics start with interpretation before judgment.
Okay, I want to make this more practical. Let's do a few what if scenarios and see how our group values will probably respond. I think this will show how our differences can either create conflict or actually strengthen our decisions. Okay, now the first scenario is imagine one of our group members suddenly becomes unresponsive 2 days before submissions. No explanation, no updates, or nothing. Ethically, what should the group do?
I guess my first instinct, honestly, will be very task oriented. I would think, okay, forget it. Let's just redistribute the work and finish. Because with my execution mindset, the result is still very urgent.
And I think that is practical but ethically incomplete. My first question would be what happened. Maybe they are irresponsible, yes, but maybe they are going through something serious. Like ethical judgment should be include context before punishment.
I think I'd be somewhere in the middle. I want to move quickly to protect the project, but I'd also agree that we need to at least try to understand the situation before labeling the person is lazy or selfish.
Yeah, for me, because I value security, I'd probably panic first. I'd be worried about the grade and timeline. But if we're talking about ethics, I think the right move is two-step. The first step is secure the project so we don't fail. The second is communicate fairly and we have to document everything.
Mm, Yes, I think how we talk about that absent person matters too. It's easy for groups to become emotionally harsh very quickly, especially under pressure. Ethical teamwork means not turning frustration into disrespect.
Okay, so maybe our ethical process would be protect the team and then check on the person, communicate communicate clearly, and avoid unnecessary blame. Right?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Okay. Now I think I'm gonna give the second scenario. What if one member is clearly the strongest academically, but they dominate every decision and rewrite everyone's work? The final result is good, but the process feels unfair.
I think this one is huge because from the outside, people might say like, "What's the problem?" The group got a good grade, but ethically, that is not enough. Like, if one person controls everything, then the group becomes unequal, even if the outcome is become very successful.
I feel slightly attacked by this kind of all this.
Honestly, same.
But firstly, I can see how that happens. I think people often claim domination of efficiency. We tell ourselves, I'm just making it better, but if no one else feels ownership, then it will become very unfair.
And also demotivating. If someone keeps taking over, eventually the quieter members may stop trying. Not because they're lazy, but because they feel like their contribution doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, so that's why process ethics matters. A good team isn't just one with where the smartest person carries everyone. A good team is one where people are still learning, participating, and being respected by everyone.
So, in that situation, the ethical challenge is balancing competence with inclusion.
Exactly. Excellence should not erase fairness.
Okay, let's discuss about the third scenario. What if the group realized that if we simplify our argument and ignore a sensitive ethical issue, our presentation will become cleaner, easier, and maybe score higher? Do we do it?
That's my opening rule of game. Yeah, gets the result maybe yes, but after this discussion, I think that's exactly the kind of trap that all of us need to avoid.
This is where the ethics getting real because the wrong decision is usually not obviously evil, but it often looks convenient, efficient, and even very strategic. But that is why feelings matter. If we only follow what is rewarded, then uh, we are not really acting ethically.
And honestly, that's how discrimination can survive in organizations too. Like, mm, people don't always say, let's be unethical. They say, let's not complicate things. And that silence itself becomes unethical.
I think my fear of risk would actually help here because, but in a different way. Not just fear of grade risk, but fear of moral risk. Because if we intentionally ignore something important, then even if we get a good score, we know the work is weaker in principle.
And I think that kind of compromise also affect the group atmosphere. If one person feels strongly that something important is being ignored, but the rest of the group push past it, that can create quite resentment.
So maybe the ethical lesson here is convenience should not automatically win over conscience.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
Yes, I agree with you, Darin.
I think before we end, I want each of us to reflect more personally, not just what did we learn about ethics, but what did we learn about ourselves from seeing our Schwartz result and hearing each other's sides today.
So for me, I learned that ambition is not always a natural before this. I probably saw my achievement and power orientation mostly as a strength. About being ambitious automatically meant being useful, but now I realize that ambition without perfection can become very narrow. It can make prioritize outcome over people or speed over fairness. So I think my biggest lesson is that leadership is not just about moving forward. It's also about creating space, listening, and knowing when not to dominate.
Um, for me personally, I learned that caring deeply can also become very heavy if I don't manage it well because I score high in universalism. So that's why I often feel responsible for fairness and inclusion. Inclusion.
And my reflection is not quite different than Alika and Hasna and Abel too.
I do agree with all of you guys. What do you think, Theo?
yeah, I agree with Abel and Alika. That pretty much sums up me as well.
Me too. I think I agree with all of you. Well, well said, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to our reflection, this reflection podcast. Uh, we hope this discussion showed that ethics is not only something we study in theory, but something we practice in the way we work, communicate, and make decisions every day. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.